Want to master anime character design for free? This course is your first step on the journey to anime character design art learning pathway. Brushcamp offers tons of similar courses in illustration, 2D, 3D design. Level up your creativity with free knowledge and courses. Visit brushcamp.com today and explore endless possibilities.
Hello. In today's lesson, we will explore layers together. Layers are also one of the essential components that we need to grasp so that I can create digital painting in the best way possible. So what exactly is a layer? Layer is like drawing on multiple separate sheets of paper. If I were to draw traditionally, I would have a brush and draw on just one sheet of paper. With layers, we can draw on different layers of paper. How does it work? You can imagine. You can see here there are 3 shapes. In this layer, you can see it is stacking above the green layer. And this layer is stacking below. You can clearly see this red layer. It is the top layer. Then the green layer, and finally the blue layer. As you can see, the higher the layer, the more it covers the layer below it. What does this help us with? For example, if I draw a landscape painting, I have a house in the front, and I have a row of trees in the back, or I have some clouds in the background. That's how it helps me separate layers and prevent them from blending together. I don't experience any issues with drawing. The difficulty with traditional drawing is sometimes the ink smudges, but I won't have that problem here. If I create multiple layers, how should I proceed now? Let's learn how to create a new layer. In the layer panel, you'll see a plus sign. All you need to do is click on that plus sign. It will create a new layer for you. I'll press Ctrl+Z2 and do that. Click the plus sign to create a new layer. The shortcut for it is Ctrl+Shift+N. Press Enter. It will create a new layer for you as well. Here, you can create new layers. For example, if I have dozens or hundreds of layers in my project, how would I know which layer is which? By selecting the Move tool, which is represented by the letter V. Press the V key to select the Move tool. I click on the object. It will jump to the correct layer. You can see that I clicked on the green color. It will jump to the green layer, jumping back and forth. So you don't have to worry about mixing up layers. If you click on the front first, pay attention to this. Okay. Besides selecting the correct layer, there's another thing, ranging for better visibility. I can change the color of this eye here to make it easier for me to see by simply hovering over this front part with the mouse, right where the eye is, and then right-clicking. I can change it to many different colors. For example, orange. If I turn off this eye, it means I'm hiding it. It hides that layer. Turning off the eye means hiding it, okay. Turning on the eye means showing it. One more thing to note is, for each layer, it has a mode, which is the opacity and fill section. I want to point out that opacity means when I lower it, it becomes like a brush. When I lower it, it becomes blurry. It becomes transparent. This can be useful for drawing mirrors, glasses, or if I draw something too dark. If I want to make it a bit blurry, can I use layers? You can use the opacity feature for that. It's quite handy. The fill option works similarly. It also reduces the opacity. In some cases, it may behave differently, but that's rare. Let's consider it as one option. You don't need to remember too much, because only through practice and studying for about 3 to 6 months, you'll be able to learn more on your own, and it'll be quick. The first thing you need to remember is that anything like a brush or a layer, all of them have opacity, which determines their transparency or opacity, whether they are opaque or transparent. That's about layers. The next thing I need to explain is about the clipping mask feature. Clipping mask is an important aspect of layers. What does clipping mask mean? Let me give you an example. For example, let's take this circular layer. This is my triangular layer. Now I will create a clipping mask for this triangle. This is the triangle layer. This is the circular layer. Now I want to draw this triangle layer as a clipping mask onto the circular layer. Let's see what the clipping mask means. When I right-click on this layer, I see the option Create Clipping Mask. I click on it. You can see something interesting here. The triangle shape only appears within the circular selection. It's like a child of the circular shape. I often refer to this as a sublayer. This one being the parent layer. The sublayer has an arrow pointing down. It only appears within the boundaries of its parent layer. For example, if I press Ctrl+T, I can manipulate the shape. By pressing Ctrl+T, I can move it around. Then you can see it only appears within the circular area. How does this help me? It ensures my drawing doesn't extend beyond the intended boundaries, because avoiding smudging is a timeless concern in art. So clipping mask helps prevent the drawing from bleeding outside. I want to remove the clipping mask. Simply right-click again. I click on Release Clipping Mask, and it will return to normal. Okay, I will continue exploring some shortcuts. For example, if I hold the Alt key, I position it between two layers. It automatically creates a downward arrow. I click on it. It becomes a sublayer immediately. I came up with the term sublayer for easier understanding, because clipping mask can't be translated as a sublayer. Okay, or hold Alt to create a minus sign. It will reopen the sublayer. Or there's another shortcut, Ctrl+Alt+G. Ctrl+Alt+G. It becomes a sublayer. Then Ctrl+Alt+G again, and the sublayer is removed. That's the clipping mask. Okay, for example, not only is there a clipping mask for each layer, but also for the layer above this layer. I can still use clipping masks. Clipping mask once again, then it will be inside this area. It will only show up inside here and won't go outside. It still exists, but it's not visible, because it only becomes visible when it goes into its parent layer. Very interesting. I press Enter to finish the command. Clipping masks are often used in publications. For example, people place this dog as a sublayer of this blue text. Then the dog only appears within the text. It doesn't protrude outside. The word Hawaii is the same. There's another thing you should know. That is the blending mode. What is blending mode? It means normally your layers are all in a mode called normal. You see this area is in normal mode, but when you scroll down, you see there are various layers with different effects. But of course, I don't have to remember them all, because I only use a few layers. As for the other layers, sometimes I use them, but in my learning and work process, I don't use it much. It means I only use a few layers. I'll quickly go over it. You can see it is divided into 4 regions. Region 1, Region 2, Region 3, Region 4, Region 5. The first region includes darken, multiply, color burn, linear burn, or darker color. This region darkens a color. You can see it over here. Darken, and so on. They darken the color. I'll give you a real-life example. This layer. I'll remove its clipping mask for a clearer visualization. For example, my green layer. I select options like darken, multiply, color burn, linear burn. All of them help darken the color. Can you see it? It darkens the color. This color is complementary, so it can be a bit tricky. Let me experiment. I'll use a slightly brighter color. For example, now I'll make this block of mine a different color. I'll choose a different color. I create a selection, and I fill it with color. For example, this selection. To create this selection, I fill it with color. I just need to CTRL. I hold Ctrl and click on its layer. It is marked right here. CTRL and then click. It will create a selection around it. We will talk more about selections later. Don't worry, I'll explain it in detail. I will make it a green color, for example. Or now I select this triangle layer. I change it to a slightly yellow color here. Then I start using the brush to fill it in. Fill it in. Okay. Ctrl+D to exit the command. Now I move it up here. To make it easier for you to imagine. As for the selection tools, don't worry. In the following lessons, I will guide you. For example, here, I use darken, multiply, or in this region. It will darken the color. When they intersect, it will create a darker color. But each intersection will have a different blending color. It depends on what color you want it to be. You just need to select the layer you want. There's no exact explanation for it. It's up to your preference. Just click and select it. The second includes darken, multiply, or in this region, linear dodge or lighter color. It brightens up the colors. You can see it lightens up the intersecting region. Next is the third group. It means it has a brightening effect. You can see overlay brightens up that color. The two intersecting colors are brightened. Soft light works in a similar way, just with different levels of brightness. It can have different levels of brightness as desired. The last two modes are actually less commonly used. For example, these modes offset to different colors. In general, I don't use these modes very often. I usually use blending modes like multiply, color dodge, screen, or overlay, soft light. I use those modes most of the time to quickly adjust brightness and contrast. Okay, that's about blending modes. Here I also have an image, so that you can see it clearly. These will be included in the accompanying resource package for the course. You can search for them and review them. Or you can watch the video and take a closer look at these examples, just to give you a visual representation. Or if you don't like that, you can simply search online, Photoshop blending mode shortcuts. You'll find many images like this on Google. So you don't need to remember too much. The point is, in this day and age, we have the internet. We can search for things. So my job is just to remember the main keywords. For example, for layers, there's clipping mask, and there's blending mode. Everything else, you can forget. If you forget, just do a few exercises and you'll remember. Or you can search again on Google, review the lecture, and then you'll understand. That's what I want you to understand about the layer part, so that I can draw separate objects, because I will have exercises, for example, drawing later on. At that time, I will summarize all the knowledge I've learned. Thank you for watching. See you in the next videos. Bye bye.
Please like and subscribe to our channel.